Welcome back. Here we go for other set of questions today. So as you know, adsorption, that is under surface chemistry, which are the topics we have learned theoretically, all those are very simple concepts. So it will be very easy for you people to solve out these questions which I have written on the board. So now we can start. So this is that very first question I have given here. The stability of lyophilic colloids is due to, they have given four options: charge on their particles, secondly, a layer of dispersion medium on their particles, third one, the smaller size of their particles, next, the large size of their particles. So usually if we consider colloids, so colloids are two types ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ. So one is lyophilic salt, another one is lyophobic salt. So in case of lyophilic salt, there will be force of attraction, so the fondness will be there for the dispersed phase towards the dispersion medium, whereas that is lyophilic means it is solvent loving, or it is having affection towards the medium. So whereas lyophobic, it is not having affection, it is hating, it is not having affection towards the medium. So as you consider lyophilic salt, why you can say that compared to lyophobic salt, lyophilic salts are more stabilized? It will be mainly due to the adsorption of, or the accumulation of the solvent molecules around the colloidal particles. That means the colloidal particles will be surrounded by more number of solvent molecules. Either these lyophilic colloidal particles, either they will be positively charged, or they will be negatively charged, or even they might be neutral. So either they are having charge or not having charge, but they will be definitely surrounded by what? Solvent molecules. Hence they are said to be lyophilic, that is solvent loving. So hence we can consider the more stability is given due to the presence of this outer layer of the solvent molecules around these colloidal particles. Therefore, whichever options they have given among these four, which is the right answer? That is a layer of dispersion medium on their particles. It is acting as a protective layer around these colloidal particles. Next, at the critical missile concentration, the surfactant molecules, either they will undergo option A, decompose, or they will undergo dissociation, that is dissociate, or they will undergo association, that is associate, or they will undergo become, that is completely soluble. So whichever you can consider. For example, manali detergents na use ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, that is used for washing purpose. So if you take a bucket full of water, to that you add 1 spoon of detergent powder, you mix it well. So what you will observe in that bucket, you will not find any turbidity, any precipitate inside that bucket. Initially it will be acting as electrolyte, so you will get clear solution. But if you add few more spoonful of detergent powder, if you add lump sum amount of detergent powder to the same bucket full of water, you mix it well. So what you will observe, you will get a certain turbidity form inside that water. So that indicates that once if there is an increase in the concentration of that surfactant, then it causes the association of the molecules. Andre first concentration kadme iddaga they will dissociate like electrolyte. ಈಗ NaCl salt na water add ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ clear solution ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ತರ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, surfactant ನ ಕಡಿಮೆ concentration ಅಲ್ಲಿ add ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ so it will dissociate completely, ionize it completely. ಅದೇ ನೀವು larger concentration add ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, if it reaches the critical missile concentration, it is a minimum concentration at which electrolyte is converting as colloid. Got it? Hence we can consider here at the critical missile concentration, the surfactant molecules, they will undergo decomposition, no, then dissociate. Dissociate means they will act as electrolyte, because they are considering specifically critical missile concentration. Actually at critical missile concentration, whatever that surfactant molecules, they will undergo association together. So this is one of the format of that missile formation. For example, if we consider that soap missile, it will be having, that is polar region will be having, that is head region negative. So here we can find that negative region will be outside the sphere and inside that non-polar layer will be inside that sphere. So that sphere shaped associated larger molecules will be considered as missile. Hence they are considered as critical missile concentration. Got it? Only you can get that missile formation once there is the critical concentration. Hence it is called as critical missile concentration. So our right answer yavadu? It will undergo, if you want to get the size of the colloidal particle, then definitely they will undergo association. Hence the right answer is associate. Option C is the right answer. Next question. Which of the following is most effective in coagulating ferric hydroxide solution? ಅಂದರೆ ನೀವೇನಾದರೂ ಫೆರಿಕ್ ಹೈಡ್ರಾಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ಒಂದು ಬೀಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಫೆರಿಕ್ ಹೈಡ್ರಾಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸೊ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ರಿಯೇಜನ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ಡ್. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಪೊಟ್ಯಾಷಿಯಂ ಕ್ಲೋರೈಡ್ KNO3, K2SO4, K3FeCN6. ಕೋಆಗುಲೇಷನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ? ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೈ ಕೋಆಗುಲೇಷನ್? ದ ಕನ್ವರ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸಾಲ್ ಇಂಟು ಪ್ರಿಸಿಪಿಟೇಟ್. So it loses, colloidal particles will lose their charges. Charge will get neutralized with the help of these coagulating agents. And hence it will become neutralized and they will undergo precipitation. However, which is more effective in causing that precipitation? So according to that Hardy and Schulze rule, what you will consider, higher the valency of the active ion, more is the coagulation effect. So you will observe madi. Illi ferric hydroxide sol alli, actually in this ferric hydroxide sol, that is surrounded by Fe+3 ions. Hence, in ferric hydroxide sol, the colloidal particle is positively charged. Agare positively charged colloid particles neutralize madodike, which is acting as active ions, that is negatively charged ions. Hence, we can say Cl minus, NO3 minus, SO4 2 minus, and here complex ion, it is K3 potassium ferricyanide. Here you will get 3 minus ferricyanide ion. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಯಾವ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಅಯಾನ್ಗೆ ವೇಲೆನ್ಸಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, that is said to be more effective in coagulating. Therefore, you can easily predict which is the right answer. That is potassium ferricyanide, which contains the higher valency for the active anion. Which is active ion here? Anion is active ion which carries negative charge, which helps to neutralize this positive charge. Therefore, option D is the right answer. Next question. If the dispersed phase is a liquid and the dispersion medium is a solid, the colloid is known as. ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, colloid ಅಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಕಾಂಪೋನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಒಂದು ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಷನ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ. ಯಾವುದು ಲಾರ್ಜ್ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ, ಯಾವುದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಫೇಸ್. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ? ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಷನ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ನ ಸಾಲಿಡ್. ಸೊ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಸಾಲಿಡ್. So which one you can consider as the right answer? So less quantity is with respect to liquid, higher quantity is with respect to solid. So you can mention it is not at all a solution because solution is not coming under colloid. Then an emulsion we cannot consider. Emulsion means liquid in liquid. Then you can go for gel. So you can just imagine this gel. Jellies we can consider, butter you can consider, cheese as an example. So various examples you can consider. In all these examples, ಎಲ್ಲ examples ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್, ಯಾವುದು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಸಾಲಿಡ್. Therefore, it is absolutely said to be a gel. And foam you can consider. What is get dispersed in what? Foam ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಬಕೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು just you add 1 spoonful of liquid, soap liquid soap. Then if you rinse it well, then you will get froth formation. So what you find in that froth? There will be accumulation of the gas inside the liquid. So that is said to be foam. Therefore, which is that correct answer for this question? That is option C. It is considered as a gel. Next question is, alum helps in purifying water by. So here they have mentioned the 4 options. Forming silicon complex with clay particles. Next, sulfate part which combines with dirt and removes it. Next, aluminium which coagulates the mud particles. And last option, making mud water soluble. First you should know, alum helps in purifying water by. What is meant by alum? It is nothing but combination of potassium, that is also called as potash alum, because it contains a composition of potassium sulfate as well as aluminum sulfate, which is hydrated. That means which contains hydrated water molecules. So it is potassium aluminum sulfate. So once you consider alum, once it is added to water which contains the clay particle, so which contains water which is having clay, then we can consider, that is mud water we can say, because it is containing certain clay particles. So we can easily imagine that if the water contains clay particles, if the water is muddy in nature, then we can consider, if you want to purify that water, if you want to clear that water by settling the clay particles, what you can do? So once you add alum, here that alum contains active ion for help, it is helping for coagulation. So what is done when you add alum to the clay particles which are present inside the water? Those clay particles are actually negatively charged. So these negatively charged clay particles, once they comes in interaction with the aluminium which is present in the alum, then aluminium which is possessing positive charge. So that positive charge can neutralize negative charges surrounding these clay particles. So once the negatively charged clay particles are neutralized, they are removed off with a negative charge, then all those clay particles will be removed off by the negative charge. They will associate with each other. Without negative charge, they will attracted to each other and they will settle at the bottom. Hence, it causes precipitation and it helping for purification of water. Therefore, alum is helping in purifying water. Got it? Similarly, if you consider, if you have got cut on your skin, that is on your hand, if you apply alum, what happens? Immediately, it is helping for clotting of the blood. How it helps? Because in our blood, those colloidal cells, blood cells which are negatively charged, they get neutralized with the help of that aluminum which is present in alum. Got it? Hence, we can consider even the clotting of the blood can be done with the help of this alum. Then, next question. Cod liver oil is what type of colloid it comes under? So, cod liver oil, actually, it is containing both water phase as well as oil phase. So, one should be medium and the other should be phase. So, here oil is the medium and water is the phase. But one more thing is there, that is emulsifying agent. So, actually cod liver oil contains that oil as well as water and along with the vitamin C which is acting as emulsifying agent. Hence, this cod liver oil can be considered as emulsion. It is not in either a solution nor colloidal solution nor suspension, but it is exactly an emulsion because it contains oil and water. Here water is getting dispersed in oil along with the presence of this emulsifying agent. Then next question. When dispersed phase is liquid and dispersion medium is gas, then the colloidal system is called, what it is called? Here the smaller quantity of liquid is dispersed in larger quantity of the gas. We can consider gas, air as an example. And here that small quantity is liquid. We can consider as water. So how do you find that water get dispersed in air, in sky? That is in the form of clouds. Therefore, we can say the exact answer is option B. Here smoke, you can consider what type of colloid it is. It is a dispersion of solid particles in the air. Solid aerosol, solid dispersed in air. Aerosol means here air is acting as a solvent, that is salt. And it is neither an emulsion nor a jelly. Therefore, it is exactly said to be example which comes under this statement is exactly clouds. And even you can consider other than clouds, mist as well as fog. Hima athwa manju anta ಏನು ಕರೀತೀರಾ, even they are best examples for this. That is dispersion of liquid in gas. Here last question is, which of the following catalyzes the conversion of glucose into ethanol? Here we can consider during the manufacture of sugar. So it is done in the presence of yeast. The yeast is helping for the conversion of sucrose into, that is finally ethanol. Because this yeast actually containing two catalysts, that is enzymes. So which are those enzymes? One is enzyme zymase, other one is enzyme invertase. So actually these two enzymes are very much helpful for the conversion of sucrose from the sugarcane juice into ethanol. So very first, during that fermentation process, there actually is, it will convert disaccharide sucrose into glucose and fructose. So that is done in the presence of enzyme invertase. Whereas in the second step, that glucose and fructose which are formed, they can be finally converting into ethanol with the presence of enzyme zymase. Therefore, zymase is helping as, it is acting as enzyme which is helping for the conversion of glucose into ethanol. Of course, this enzyme maltase is helping for the conversion of maltose into glucose, and diastase, it is helping for the conversion of, that is a starch into glucose. Therefore, that correct answer for this question is option A. The next question. When water vapor is passed through silica gel, water vapor is, what process is taking place? Whether we can consider if there is a moisture present in atmosphere, if you have kept silica gel, then there is an easy provision for the accumulation of the water molecules on the pores present in the silica. That means that process which actually involves adsorption. It is not absorption, it is only surface phenomenon. Therefore, we can easily consider water vapors when they are passed through silica gel, then water vapor is, first option absorbed, second option desorbed, third option adsorbed, fourth option deactivated. So which is the right answer? That is adsorbed. There will be adsorption process taking place. Then which gas can be adsorbed more? Here they are giving comparison. So the gas with high critical temperature, then gas with low critical temperature, then a gas which can be liquefied easily. And the last option, both 1 and 2. Here they have mentioned first option, the gas with high critical temperature. You know what is meant by critical temperature? It's very easy. The temperature below which or above which we can say. So here critical temperature is nothing but it is the temperature above which a gas cannot be liquefied. So ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ ಅಂತ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ಗಿಂತ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎಕ್ಸೀಡ್ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ, ಈವನ್ 1 degree ಎಕ್ಸೀಡ್ ಆದರೂ ಕೂಡ, we cannot convert that gas into liquid even though if you apply very high pressure. ನೀವು ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಹೈ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಆ ಕ್ರಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಟೆಂಪರೇಚರ್ನ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ ನೀವು ಲಿಕ್ವಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. The temperature above which a gas cannot be liquefied can be called as critical temperature. Here let me give example. The methane which has got 190 Kelvin as a critical temperature, and if you say another example, that is we can guess hydrogen which is having 90 Kelvin as critical temperature. Here you can guess the gas which has higher critical temperature can easily reached compared to the gas with very less critical temperature. So here we can guess methane gas is liquefied first when compared to hydrogen. Here the molecular mass is more for methane, therefore it can easily get liquefied, and it can, once it reach 190 Kelvin, the gas methane will be converted into liquid. Whereas hydrogen at 190 it is not able to get converted into liquid, but still we have to reduce the temperature. Estuke 90 Kelvin temperature reach adaga matra there is possibility it can convert into what? Liquid. So therefore it is very easy for the conversion of any gas into liquid once it reaches critical temperature, and below its critical temperature we can convert that gas into liquid. So therefore here we can guess the gas with high critical temperature can be adsorbed more. We can accept this option. Then another option, that is option B. So here option C, gas with low critical temperature, we cannot accept it. But option B, gas which can be liquefied easily, this can also be accepted. So here the gas, the one which is having higher molecular mass can be easily get liquefied when compared to those gases with lesser molecular mass values which are having lesser van der Waals forces of attraction. Therefore, we can easily guess here. These are the two options which are said to be right. Therefore, we can guess option D is the right answer. That is both 1 and 2 option is correct. Next question. Among the following chemical reactions, the one representing the homogeneous catalysis. Here, if you consider that catalysis process, the process which involves the presence of catalyst is nothing but catalysis. Two types of catalysis process, homogeneous, heterogeneous. Homogeneous catalysis process ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಎರಡು ಸೇಮ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೇಮ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸಾಲಿಡ್, ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಗ್ಯಾಸ್ 3 ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಐದರ್ ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಗೇಷಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್. ಸಾಲಿಡ್, that is particularly both reactants as well as catalysts are in the same phase, but you need not consider about the products here. Whereas heterogeneous catalyst, that is the catalysis process in which the reactants and the catalysts are in different phases, physical phases. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಾಲಿಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬಹುದು. Here we can consider example. Among the following chemical reactions, the one representing the homogeneous catalysis. Among these set of examples, you have to identify homogeneous catalysis. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದೇ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಇದು ಕನ್ವರ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೇವರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ಕಂಬೈನಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ammonia. So here iron is used as catalyst. Nitrogen, hydrogen are in gaseous state, but iron is in solid state. So it is not homogeneous. Next, SO2 plus O2 giving rise to SO3. It is inlet chamber process. NO, nitric oxide, is acting as catalyst. So it is containing both the reactants as well as catalysts are in the same phase. Hence, it is said to be right option. It is example for homogeneous catalysis. Next, carbon monoxide, hydrogen converting to give methane and water. Here nickel is used as catalyst. Of course, there is a difference in the physical state. Nickel is solid, whereas carbon monoxide and hydrogen reactants are gaseous state. They are in different states. It is also not homogeneous, but it is hetero. And last example, that is in contact process during the manufacture of sulfuric acid. As you know, sulfur dioxide combines with oxygen to give sulfur trioxide, which is the catalyst. Vanadium pentoxide, that is actually solid in state. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಯಾವ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇಮ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ? ಇದು ಗೇಷಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್, ಇದು ಗೇಷಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. Therefore, we can guess option B is the right answer. Here we have last set of questions. Firstly, the greater the charge on an ion, the greater is the coagulation power. Is statement of. So this statement comes under which rule? Tyndall's effect, Faraday's law, Moseley's law, and Hardy-Schulze law. So which is that law? That is Hardy-Schulze law. So what is according to Hardy and Schulze law? According to Hardy and Schulze law or rule, it says that greater the valency or the charge of the active ion, that is ion I have mentioned, greater is its coagulation power. Exactly, it's the right answer. Then, which of the following is chemisorption? The chemisorption involves there will be chemical bond existing between adsorbate and adsorbent, as you know. Here we can consider the examples: adsorption of hydrogen on nickel at high temperature, adsorption of moisture on silica gel, then adsorption of hydrogen on charcoal, then hydration of anhydrous calcium chloride. Here, as you can guess, chemisorption, it usually takes place at higher temperature. So adsorption of hydrogen on nickel at high temperatures, it is actually chemisorption because it includes chemical bond between the adsorbate and adsorbent. Next, adsorption of moisture on silica gel. So it is adsorption process, physical adsorption. It is also physical adsorption. It is specifically high temperature. Here hydration of anhydrous calcium chloride, it is absorption. So therefore option A is the right option. Next, occlusion of gases by metals involves. So adsorption, absorption, sorption and desorption. Actually, whenever you can consider the transition metals on which the gaseous molecules is get absorbed, usually at lower temperature, first they will undergo adsorption. But as you increase the pressure, as you increase the temperature, they will actually undergo even absorption. They will penetrate into the interstitial spaces present in that metal atoms. Therefore, we can say that the process which actually involves both absorption and adsorption. That is, first it will undergo adsorption initially, then it will penetrate inside the bulk of that metal. It is said to be absorption. Such process which involves both adsorption, that is absorption, hence they are said to be sorption. Agar enagutte, occlusion of gases of the metals is nothing but which includes both absorption and adsorption. Therefore, it is said to be sorption. First they will undergo adsorption, then they will undergo absorption. Hence the process is called as sorption. Next question. Substances whose solutions can readily diffuse through animal membrane are called as, they are colloids or crystalloids or electrolytes or none of this. Like you can consider crystalloids are nothing but true solutions. Then suspensions. So one more is colloids. The size of the particles in the solution is less than 1 nanometer. Size of the suspension is more than 100 nanometer, whereas size of colloidal particles is in between 1 to 100 nanometer. So agar filtration madbekadre true solution tagondaga, like sodium chloride solution tagondaga, we can't filter that either by using parchment paper or even by using filter paper. In case of suspension, filter paper use madidre filter madbodu. But in case of colloids, they can be just purified with the help of not filter paper but only with the parchment paper or animal membrane. Example for animal membrane, urinary bladder membrane. We can say, here we can guess that is colloids or crystalloids, substance whose solution can be readily diffused through animal membrane is with respect to whichever that example you can consider here. There you can consider that is crystalloids, substances whose solution can readily diffuse through the membrane, that is animal membrane, are called as crystalloids, because colloids cannot pass through the membrane of the animal, but crystalloids or true solution particles can easily pass through that membrane. Therefore answer is crystalloids. Even electrolytes can also, that is we can say crystalloids are nothing but true solution particles. Got it? Next question. Cold cream is an example for. So here actually if you apply cold cream on the skin, then we can easily find there will be more quantity of oil, less quantity of the moisture. Therefore you can find greasiness on the skin. But when you apply moisture, that is moisturizer, so after certain time we can find there will be no greasy touch on the skin, because in case of moisturizer, the water content is more, oil content is less. Whereas in cold cream, the oil content is more, water content is less. So emulsions are of two types, that is oil in water emulsion or water in oil emulsion. So here cold cream is best example for, here oil is more, therefore it is dispersion of water in oil medium. Hence the correct option for this cold cream is an example for, that is water in oil emulsion. So these are the different questions we have discussed about. Still we can further discuss about few more questions in the next video session.